It's time for business news. Now, stakeholders representing workers' unions are now calling for the cancellation of the power purchasing agreement that has been blamed for the high energy costs in the country. According to COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, it is unfair that the IPPS are paid in foreign currency, depriving the country's economy of the much-needed forest reserves. The stakeholders, including COTU, CUPET, and LSK, were appearing before the Departmental Committee on Energy. Jimmy Mbogo tells us more.
While appearing before the Energy Committee, COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli did not mince his words, categorically telling members of parliament that it is time for Kenya to do away with the costly power purchasing agreements.
Independent power producers have negatively affected the cost of power in Kenya by making power more expensive. If we constitute a committee of electrical or electricity engineers to audit them, you will find that there is nothing that they are providing to power and lighting.
COTU further questioning the motive behind the decision to pay IPPs in dollars despite the fact that they are locally owned. COTU says the issue should have been keenly looked into and measures put in place to cushion the taxpayers from losing money in the exchange rate.
It is obnoxious that most of the power purchasing agreements Kenya Power enters into require payments in foreign exchange. How do we allow that? And you know, some of the requirements of registering a company in this country, you have to declare whether you are a Kenyan or whether you are a foreigner. These IPPs are owned by Kenyans. And I have no shame to call them unscrupulous Kenyans because we pay very expensively the issue of electricity.
There is no contract that is permanent. Life itself is not even permanent. So we should not be given this idea, oh, these are permanent contract. There's nothing we can do about it. If it is difficult, we can make constitutional references in court. If something is anti-citizens who are actually the sovereign, the courts can pronounce themselves over it.
Atwoli's sentiments were echoed by CUPET representative Akelo Misori, who says that the high cost of power has become a demoralizing issue for teachers who can no longer work remotely to prepare for the next day and leaving them frustrated. At the same time, he took note that if CBC curriculum is to succeed, power connectivity must be addressed to allow students to access the internet.
When electricity cost is high and we have carried work home, we have reduced motivation to work because sometimes when you go back before you are the learners, like teachers, we are poorly prepared. So workers who face high energy cost feel dissatisfied with their jobs if their income is not sufficient to cover their basic needs.
On their part, doctor representatives lamented over the high cost of power and its impact on the hospital operations, insisting on a need to harmonize it in order to avoid unnecessary loss of lives.
Hospitals require significant amount of electricity to power medical equipment, for lighting, heating and cooling systems, and this strains now the hospital budget and limits the ability to provide services to Kenya.
The unions in their submissions have called for their inclusion in the Energy Board to ensure that the voice of the workers and their interests are factored in the determination of prices in the country, even as they insist on the need to liberalize the energy sector, adding that Kenya Power's monopoly has made it too hard for it to be efficient in its operations.
Monopoly has led to lack of competition. It has also led to limited incentive for cost reduction. Because the question is what I do.
Jimmy Mbogo, KTN News.
In other news, the Kenya Auto Bazaar Association has